Ma se ci pensi sei proprio un matto. Di cacao in giro ce n'è talmente tanto, ma quando sento il profumo di quello della mia finca, mi ripaga di tutte le fatiche.
The farm owned by Vestri is in the Dominican Republic, a tropical island where cocoa finds a perfect habitat. We're in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, in the Alta Gracia region in El Bonayo. The sea is 30 miles away and the ground extraordinarily rich. When Danelo arrives at the farm, it's a good time for everyone. Also, the children, having just returned from school, want to go and visit the cocoa plantation with him. Here, the long journey of cocoa begins. The cocoa tree needs a soft and humid ground with plenty of water. On this island, it rains almost every day. After a rainstorm, suddenly it's sunny again. The cocoa tree grows in the forest, and its beautiful fruits spring directly from the tree's trunk and branches, ripening while protected under the shade of the bigger trees, like amapola, the plane tree, the zapote, the mango, and the avocado. Depending on the quality and stage of ripening, the cocoa changes color throughout the year. From scarlet to green at the beginning, to stunning orange, red and yellow of those ready to be picked. A lot of work is needed for the cocoa pod to become chocolate. Over the years, this process has been truly refined by chocolate manufacturers. At the Vestri laboratory in Arezzo, traditional machines are used together with the latest equipment, with much of the process still carried out by hand. In this way, Vestri can consistently retain the traditional flavor of chocolate. Some of the machines were built more than 50 years ago, and they still produce the same old quality, while others have been invented and built by Danelo Vestri himself. He adapts his tools to suit his endless creativity. Vestri has studied the old school process for a long time, and he tries to make his machines work in the same way in order to put the authentic taste of the cocoa fruit into his chocolate. Let's follow Danelo into Santo Domingo to see how he does it. In Santo Domingo, people seem to be smiling more than we usually do. They express the joy of life, even if their situation is generally difficult, and most of the population still live with very little. In the countryside, where tourism hasn't reached, the problems of underdevelopment are still particularly present. In his cultivation of cocoa trees, Vestri tries to help Santo Domingo by following the rules of fair and equal commerce, supported by the association UCODEP, based in Arezzo. The result is better cocoa, attained from the work of equally paid farmers. Ethics are changing, and after centuries of exploitation, chocolate may actually become a relief for the poor. In 2005, at the chocolate fair in Prato near Florence, it was possible to collect part of the money needed for the building of a primary school in Salcedo.
Questo posto è un paradiso, è sempre estate, e la natura ha una forza che ti incanta.
To better understand the making of chocolate, we must go and research how they used to do it in the past. Let's watch Danelo Vestri preparing chocolate on his farm without any machinery and just a little mill and those few kitchen tools you can find in any house. The cocoa pods are collected by Elvido, Danielo's chief farmer. chooses the ripest from all the varieties of pod. Many different plants grow alongside the cocoa tree, and each of them has a use. The great trees protect cocoa with their shade, while papaya, toronca, which is a kind of grapefruit, coffee, mango, banana and other fruits have always been a relevant source of food for the Dominican farmers. Banana leaves are being collected before returning to the courtyard. They'll be used to protect and seal the cocoa seeds, keeping them warm during their fermentation. The fermentation of cocoa seeds occurs without the presence of oxygen. Cocoa fruits are here opened in the old way, just by knocking them against one another. In doing this, the seeds can't be spoiled by any cutting blade. They come out covered by a very sweet white mucilage. This mucilage enables the fermentation of the cocoa seeds, which will last for 7 days. This fermentation process naturally produces heat, and the temperature of cocoa will reach 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. During this time, the typical perfumes of cocoa are developed. When a week has passed, the fermented seeds are laid out in the sun to dry. They're still warm with a strong acetic smell. An old pan and a few burning logs are all that we need to roast the cocoa seeds. The seeds are stirred constantly to avoid them from burning. And when the cocoa seeds are roasted, you can feel the perfume all around you, and you'll see its beautiful brown color. At this point, the seeds are laid out on clean banana leaves to cool down, and a shell to separate the bark from their inner seed, the real part of cocoa, which becomes chocolate. Once cleaned, traditionally the seeds are broken into a mortar. Danelo Vestri has got his own way for this. He puts the sugar he will use together with the cocoa seeds at this point of the preparation in order to fill it with a ready roasted aroma. The next step is the grinding of the sugar and seeds at the mill. Cocoa and sugar are milled a few times until the powder starts to become doughy. This material can now be molded into any shape he likes. Voila, the primitive chocolate. At the Arezzo laboratory, it's not just about primitive chocolate. Chocolate here is processed in thousands of different ways, obtaining precious chocolate wonders. In Tuscany, the story of chocolate started 400 years ago. At the times of Cosimo de' Medici, in the middle of the 17th century, chocolate used only to be a drink, an extraordinarily perfumed one, elaborated with essence of jasmine and orange. Now Vestri has repeated this process, following an antique recipe handed down by the chocolatier Redi. Vestri's jasmine chocolate delighted the public at the National Library of Firenze during its exhibition of ancient books on chocolate. The whole Vestri family is working with passion to carry on a chocolate-making tradition, alongside more than a few famous peers in Tuscany. But for Danelo, tradition is not enough. To him, the making of good chocolate is a constant quest. At first, when the cocoa seed arrives from Vestri's farm, they're cured by hand in order to select the wholesome seeds and separate them from any kind of impurities. One of the better coffee roasting machines has been adapted by Vestri to roast cocoa seeds. This machine has been modified to obtain the perfect timing and temperature for cocoa roasting. Roasting is one of the most fundamental steps in obtaining good chocolate. Here the final fragrances are given and developed. The temperature must be extremely precise, nothing over 120 degrees Celsius, and the whole process has to be very smooth. Over-roasting will burn off the cocoa's perfume and spoil the chocolate flavour, while inadequate roasting won't fully develop its aromatic fragrance. The separation of the inner seed from the bark, done by hand in Santo Domingo, is done here with purpose-built machinery. The cocoa seeds are broken and pass through vibrating screens at different widths, and afterwards the bark is pushed to one side by blowing air, while the heavier seed's interior goes to the other side. The breaking of the seeds together with sugar in a stone mill is an antique process. Many of the modern chocolate makers abandoned it for faster grinders with blades, but Vestri believes time to be a determinant factor in obtaining excellence in chocolate. A faster grinding of the seeds indeed would warm up the cocoa to temperature, but would spoil the typical aroma of the precious seeds released in his cultivation. Once the milling's finished, the mixture of cocoa and sugar goes to the refining machine. Passing through its steel rollers, cocoa solids and sugar crystals are refined to about 20 to 30 microns and pass from powder to the state of a substantial paste. Now this paste goes into the most ancient machinery of the Vestri laboratory. This conch, built at the beginning of the 1900s, is still the most delicate way to amalgamate and homogenize chocolate, now added with cocoa butter, vanilla and lecithin. Volatile acids are now released into the conch. The conching time is to be set precisely, depending on the quality of the cocoa. It can even last for up to 72 hours. What we now see can be properly called chocolate. We're now ready to put the chocolate into a tempering machine. Here it will be warmed up and cooled down at controlled temperatures in order to make the cocoa butter crystals combine correctly. The result will be a chocolate which is bright and even in colour and that pleasantly melts in the mouth. Now we're free to form chocolate in any shape desirable. Bars, pralines of any kind, chocolate-covered fruits, sculptures. Chocolate is an extraordinarily ductile material, and the very limit is just the maker's imagination. To make good chocolate starting from the cocoa tree is demanding work that cannot be improvised. To obtain top quality Criollo and Trinitario cocoa in Santo Domingo, Danelo Vestri has relied on the great experience of the cocoa growers of the Aprocaci. Aprocaci is an agricultural cooperative in the region of Cibao. Aprocaci adopts all the criteria for a fair and equal commerce, and many of its members are cocoa growers and agronomists with large experience. The directors of Aprocaci have visited the Arezzo laboratory and are now passionately helping the farmers there obtain an exemplary cultivation process with absolutely no use of pesticides or chemical fertilizers. They started by grafting the best quality cocoa stems onto existing cocoa trees. After this, 4,000 new trees of the Trinitario have been planted, which will be grafted with pure Criollo once they've grown big enough. With this grafting process, growth is faster. Here we can see a farmer from Aprocaci while he's working to graft some Criollo stems onto a young Forastero cocoa tree. With grafting, growth is faster and obtains a better quality cocoa pod on a stronger plant. Grafting is a most delicate process that needs skill and experience. Once the stems are properly tied to the stalk of the cocoa tree, the grafting is protected with a plastic bag. This protection will maintain the right degree of humidity until the moment when the stems will have taken root. The first cocoa fruit will be ready for picking after only 2 years. Grafting can also be done on a very young cocoa tree, but in this case only one stem can be grafted, and the success rate of sprouting is much lower. However, taking this risk may be worth it, because a young tree grows even faster than the bigger plants.
La calor mata el nacimiento, ¿te ves? Entonces, de ahí, por ejemplo, se brinca aquí, vea, aquí,
Sí.
¿te ves? Mire, aquí.
Che non c'è io
¿te ves? Arriba, ¿te ves?
Arriva, che non c'è
Cuestión de que no quede el nacimiento tapado.
Porque la yema va a brotar por ahí.
¿Te ves? Porque la yema brota ahí, ¿te ves? Tiene que ser un plástico que sea más largo que eso, pero fino, ¿te ves? Fino, no ancho, ¿te ves? Que sea finito, ¿te ves? Finito, para envolver, ¿te ves? De abajo hacia arriba, ¿te ves? Y dejar el nacimiento.
Once the young cocoa tree starts its production, the nearby older cocoa tree will be cut.
La calor no la mate, ¿te ves?
The Vestri farm in Vista Alegre is expanding. Thanks again to the technical advice of Apracacci and their experienced agronomists, some fermentation tanks have been built. These tanks are built with kabirma wood.
Ma senti come sta caliente.
Kabirma is the perfect wood, as it doesn't give any unrelated aroma to the cocoa seeds. Drying rooms have also been built, with sliding canopies to protect the cocoa seeds from frequent rainfall. During its time in the drying room, the cocoa seeds' moistness is reduced from 60 to 8%. Proper drying is a fundamental part of this process, as it prevents any mold infecting the seeds. Cocoa seeds with mold are not suitable for the production of good chocolate. Here we can clearly see the difference between a healthy seed and a moldy one.
Eso no tienen, esto sí, tienen el moho.
Cocoa fruits get ripe all year round in Santo Domingo. However, most of the production is harvested between March and June, and a little less between November and December. At these times of the year, it's very common to meet the local campesinos who are extracting cocoa seeds from the pods.
Ellas son las buenas bailadoras. Las mujeres de por aquí son las mejores. Porque tienen el gusto abajo. Y los hombres y la bachata son bailando. La bachata es lo mejor que hay en el campo. Las mujeres lo dan todo bailando. Y si dicen a querer son muy queronas. Eso es así que se pica aquí contento.
Danelo is firmly convinced that in the way that good wine is based in the vineyard, good chocolate starts at the cocoa plantation. And this is the reason for his accurate research in places where cocoa takes its origins. In the same way we see celebrations at the time of a grapes harvest, in Santo Domingo, people celebrate the harvest of cocoa fruits. This very long and thorough sequence of experience and knowledge can be found in any of the Danelo Vestri chocolates. Danielo's passion pervades all of his family. Danielo, together with Stefania and their son Leonardo and daughter Benedetta, work every day to make chocolate in all the most refined ways, still maintaining, of course, its primordial taste.
Metti negra come bueno. Ah,
Qué bueno.
Bueno.
questo sta il cioccolatino, quello bueno.
Sudor también.
Especial, me manda loco.
Chocolate Vestri.
Dai.
Dai.